Hello and welcome to Throne Talk, home of Game of Thrones predictions, recaps, and more. I'm Ryan and today we'll be predicting the top 10 most important characters for Season 5. This is going to be based on how much screen time I think each character is going to get. Before we start, just a general spoiler warning, so make sure you're caught up through the Season 4 finale. Number 10, House Greyjoy in the Iron Islands. The last time we caught up with House Greyjoy was when Theon's sister Yara attempted to rescue him from Ramsay, but her plan backfired when she discovered that the Reek persona had taken Theon over. This season I think the Greyjoys will get their scenes through Balon, Theon's father, planning his continuing northern invasion strategy. In Season 3 we did see Stannis named Balon Greyjoy as one of 3 usurpers to the throne when he threw King's Blood-filled leeches into the flames. The other 2 usurpers that Stannis named are dead, so it'll be interesting to see if Balon will follow in their footsteps, as this would pretty much solidify the Red God as the one true God, or at least show that blood magic is the most powerful magic on the show. Number 9, House Bolton at the Dreadfort and the North. I think in the first half of Season 5 we will see Ramsay and Roose and his new wife Fat Walda start off by trying to get rid of any remaining Ironborn as well as Stark loyalists left in the north. Later on in the season, once they get word that Stannis and his army are at Castle Black, I think the Boltons will gather their own men and head north to confront Stannis in an attempt to further bolster their hold on the north and impress the king in King's Landing. Number 8, Brienne and Podrick in the Riverlands. These 2 are a really interesting case because their story has differed the most from the books and is pretty much following a completely different course. I think some possibilities of what could happen to Brienne and Podrick is that they'll get word of Sansa being in the Vale, or they might run into the Brotherhood without banners, who we haven't seen since Season 3, but I do think either way they'll run into some familiar characters and possibly even Ramsay. Either way, based on how this show has treated fan-favorite characters, I think it's safe to say that these 2 are pretty popular, and they will be getting a fair amount of scenes. However, there's also the small possibility that since the actor who plays Brienne is also slated to appear in Star Wars Episode 7, which is currently filming, her scenes could be reduced or skipped over, but I think that would anger a lot of fans, so I really doubt that HBO would do this. Number 7, Sansa and Littlefinger in the Vale. Last season we finally got to see Sansa play the Game of Thrones when she lied about the whole Lysa falling through the moon door thing and saved Littlefinger from certain death. This season I think we'll see Sansa, under the guise of Peter Baelish's niece Elaine Stone, touring the Vale with Littlefinger and the Lord of the Vale, Robin Arryn. While this is going on, I have a feeling that Littlefinger will be planning his next move in his master plan, if he hasn't already planned it, and I think it's going to be something big. As to what I think he's planning, I think one option is that he could be trying to kill Robin so that he can become the sole Lord of the Vale, or maybe to prove his loyalty to Sansa, he'll think of a way to get revenge on the Freys, or he may even begin gathering strength to retake Winterfell in her name. I'm definitely looking forward to more of these 2, and I want you guys to let me know in the comments, what do you guys think that Littlefinger has planned next? At number 6, Daenerys in Meereen. The last we saw of Dany was her locking up 2 of her dragons after a child was slain by dragonfire in Meereen. I think this season Daenerys will be continuing to rule as best she can, and, continuing the theme from last season, she will be addressing any detractors to her claim. In Season 4, it was briefly mentioned that some of her conquered cities, led by the slave masters, had begun to rebel against her rule, and I think this will be explored more thoroughly in Season 5. I'm also interested to see where her and Daario Naharis' relationship will go, and also whether or not Jorah will ever be seen again. Getting back to the dragons, the fact that one is still on the loose I think will cause some major problems next season. The dragons are basically like a flagship of the show, and we should definitely expect to see more of them in Season 5, and yes, they will be bigger. Number 5. House Martell in Dorne. If you've seen HBO's Season 5 casting announcement video, you know that at least 6 Martell characters will be joining the show next season, and that means a lot of screen time. Establishing what is pretty much an entirely new major house onto the show will definitely take up some time, but I'm looking forward to seeing Dorne, which has been described as one of the most beautiful places in Westeros, and I'd love to see what HBO can do cinematography-wise. It's rumored that possibly Jaime or Bronn can end up in Dorne in Season 5, which I think is a good idea because it will further tie the Martells into the overall show arc and make them seem less distant from the main story. The guy in the picture, by the way, is Alexander Siddig, who you may know from Star Trek, and he'll be playing Doran Martell. Doran is Prince Oberyn's older brother and the head of House Martell. Also, if you remember back to Season 4, Episode 8, in the Mountain vs. the Viper fight, the Mountain did admit to raping and killing Elia Martell and her children, so Lannister Martell tensions will most likely be high next season. At number 4 is Arya in Braavos. You know you're an important character when you're featured in the final shot of a season, and last season ended with Arya sailing off to Braavos to meet up with the Faceless Men. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Arya will have landed in Braavos or not by the season premiere, but whether she has or not, I think she'll begin the season first by learning about the Faceless Men and the culture and way of life of the Braavosi, and then we'll finally see her meet up and hopefully start some assassin training. I'm also really excited to hopefully find out how exactly the whole face swapping thing works, and whether or not it's magic related or just some super assassin trick. Also, around June or July, it was reported that the actor who played Jaqen Hagar will be returning for Season 5 and that he will be a cast regular, but this news has not been confirmed by HBO. Also, this picture is rumored to be the House of Black and White, which is the headquarters for the Faceless Men of Braavos in the books. At number 3 is Jon and Stannis at the Wall. In Season 5, a bunch of my favorite characters will all be in the same place for the first time, which is going to be awesome. If you guys haven't noticed yet, Jon has slowly been gaining more and more scenes with each season, and I don't expect that trend to change. Jon is basically the de facto leader of the Night's Watch right now, and with Stannis and his men at the Wall, any remaining wildling threat should be nullified. Two characters I'd really like to see interact, among others, are Melisandre and Maester Aemon, possibly talking about the Walkers or magic in general. I do think there will be at least a few White Walker scenes this season, as there has been at least one Walker scene each season. If you can remember back to when Stannis is able to see a vision in the flames with the help of Melisandre, he later reveals that he saw himself leading a great battle in the snow. Whether this will be against the White Walkers or against someone else remains to be known. Once the Boltons do hear about Stannis being at the Wall, and if they try to lure him to battle, I think Stannis would try to take them on. I don't know how large his forces are, but based on the multiple occasions on the show when Stannis talks about Ned Stark, we know he has a lot of gratitude towards him, and would most likely repay Ned by honoring his memory and taking on the men who betrayed his son. At number 2 is just a bunch of characters in King's Landing. Even with everything else that is going on, there's still going to be a lot that has to happen in King's Landing in Season 5. First, we'll have to have the reactions to Tywin's death and possibly a funeral. Then a new Hand of the King will be chosen, which is a pretty crappy job right now if you ask me. In addition, the actor who played Tywin Lannister recently said that he will not be completely missing out on the next season. I think this means that there either will definitely be a funeral, or we could be seeing the first flashback scene on the show. Next, Marjorie and Tommen's budding relationship will be continued to be featured, as well as Cersei's dislike of this. And finally, as revealed in the casting video, is the new High Septon coming to town. The High Septon, who for next season will be dubbed the High Sparrow, is basically like the Pope of Westeros. We have seen previous High Septons on the show before, in the form of the guy who got pulled apart in Season 2's Ride of King's Landing, and his replacement, who was the one who wed Joffrey and Margaery last season. I'm not sure what happens to the replacement that he himself has to be replaced, but I bet it won't be too pleasant. And at number 1 is Tyrion and Varys, most likely in Essos. In case you guys haven't figured it out yet, Tyrion is the main character of Game of Thrones. He's tied for being in the most episodes, draws the most critical acclaim, and is adored or at least liked by most fans. Tyrion is actually one of the few honorable characters on the show who doesn't die horribly, or at least he hasn't yet. But then again, he did kill his own father, who had also murdered people at a wedding. But basically all of this is open to interpretation. Tyrion is also the only character to spend time in nearly all of the major locations in the show, namely Winterfell, the Wall, the Vale, and King's Landing. I believe that the ship he and Varys are on will be heading to another major location on the show, possibly Meereen or somewhere else that Dany has visited, as this fits with his theme, and Essos, being a separate continent, is about as far away from Cersei as possible. Varys accompanying Tyrion on the ship is actually a major change from the books, but I'm a fan of the change as I thought these two characters worked really well together, and they have some of the more clever dialogue on the show. Also, I think Varys' real intentions will be revealed at some point this season, and we'll find out what his real aspirations are, as opposed to his normal cop-out of serving the good of the realm. Well, that will do it for this episode of Throne Talk. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree with my rankings, or if I missed anyone that you think will be an important player for Season 5. As always, leave suggestions for what you'd like to see for future recaps or prediction videos, and hit subscribe for more Throne Talk. Thanks for watching.